Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Forensic Frenzy's Murder Methods. So, I've been in my hiding hole, and to be fair, I've been beckoned to crawl out several times. So, I've been thinking for the past few weeks about what I would say if I returned. In truth, for those who kept up through my technical glitches, toward the end of November, beginning of December 2025, my opinions have already been out there. And I've been saying these same things that people are now talking about for a very long time. I don't usually come alive until I feel like there's a benefit to me coming alive. So let's be honest. Had some hard times with people. Didn't think I'd ever care what they thought again. And I'm hearing what they think, and I think they're lost. I want to help them out and provide them some context. We'll see where it goes. So, let's remember that Bryan Kohberger pled guilty. He said he did it. So we're not here to argue that Khberger is innocent. That's an argument for someone else. You're going to have to get someone else to do it. But I'm hearing people who don't really seem to fathom why anyone in the world should wonder if anyone else was involved. And for me, that's a problem. Partial justice is not justice. If this is the whole of justice, then there may have been some ineptness on law enforcement's part. So while we're dishing out lawsuits, do they deserve one? While Bryan Kohberger had been conducting his self-authored and Reddit forum published murder survey in June of 2022, would it be impossible for Khberger to have engaged and become friendly with one or more of the self-proclaimed criminals who responded to his Reddit survey? Because just before Khberger's car began circling the home at 1122 King Road, where Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle would be stabbed more than 150 times on the night of November 13th, 2022, there was another person. That person was there about 15 minutes before Bryan. They'd gone to the Linda Lane dumpster. They had some kind of light source in their hand. They were either checking the dumpster, weirdly, at 3:14 a.m., or possibly retrieving something from the dumpster. But what we do know is the dumpster is a top loader, or it was at the time. And this person didn't toss something into the dumpster. So what were they doing? This person, well, they left the dumpster and walked across the Linda Lane parking lot from east to west, directly toward King Road, directly toward the residence, disappearing off camera view within yards of the rear slider door of the residence, where 15 minutes later, the white Elantra would be passing on Taylor Avenue, going in the same direction, toward King Road, from east to west. What makes these two scenarios so different? Who is this man at the dumpster? because law enforcement have been putting this timeline together since the very beginning, and it still stands right now. They are standing 10 toes on it that, well, Bryan Kohberger's car passed east to west on Taylor Avenue, passing that Linda Lane camera at 3:29 a.m. as if he hadn't been there before that. So who is that at 3:14? Crossing this same parking lot, disappearing off camera in the same place that the car disappears when it's circling. So is that Bryan and you just didn't prove it, officers? Or was that the basis of Bryan's claims when he was going to say someone else did it? So when some people are asking, did he have an accomplice? Well, did he? Then there's the man in the ski mask. So allegedly, see, this we know happened on November 13th around 3:15 a.m. But allegedly, the photo of the man in the ski mask with the water tower in the background, well, that took place around 3:30 a.m. The fun part is that when that man approaches the dumpster from Taylor Ave, walking up to the Linda Lane dumpster, he's coming from the same region in which it is to be believed that the man in the ski mask may have also been when he took the photo around 3:29. Just right in front of the tower, looking at the house. The tower is in the same direction that this man is coming from. So, man at the dumpster at 3:15, man in the ski mask at around 3:30, white vehicle pulls up around 3:30. Now, one of these men is Bryan. Are the other two men the same man? Or are those two totally different men? Bryan has admitted that he is a murderer, right? So was there just one other person in the area at the same time as the murderer? Or were there two? Because there was at least one. Name on that TikTok photo: water tower guy, ski mask, the Deli Boys. How lucky would Khberger have to be to have had someone out there that night using that handle when he was going to butcher children and then try to blame multiple other people? That's all before the cops drop the bolo and they're like, we're looking for the occupant or occupants of the 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra, which is well before they dropped the bomb after the plea deal that they investigated Papa Roger, and they don't tell us who Papa Roger was as if they didn't determine that. But what they do know is it wasn't Bryan. Papa Roger wasn't Bryan, but Papa Roger knew a lot of shit, and Papa Roger is still out here. And it wasn't Bryan. All right, so my favorite is the alleged question when he was arrested. Was anyone else arrested? Or am I the only person you arrested? Or am I the only person, you have arrested. However the fuck he asked the question. I don't give a fuck, okay? Point is, Bryan knows this because he's not a fucking idiot. English language does not allow for you to ask the question in any of those ways right there and be inquiring about someone who's right there in the room with you, like his dad, his mom, or his sister. English language requires you to be like, well, is someone else being arrested actively right now, currently, like I am? So if he posed it as been arrested or have you arrested anyone else, he wasn't talking about those people right there with him. No, not at all. So who was he talking about? And then did he just see these other men out there that night and know that he could throw them under the bus? Is that why he would dance around and throw that question out there? Did he just get lucky? Just so lucky that it just worked? That he was just going to be a murderer and have a whole entire some other dude did it defense, but just not be able to name them, so clearly he couldn't actually blame them. But the whole thing just built upon itself. It's a lovely little structure he created, and this is just luck. So he's got great luck when it comes to a somewhat formidable defense, but he's got terrible shitty luck when it comes to being a murderer. So he planned the defense really well, but didn't plan the murder well enough. I'm confused. Okay, anyway. I don't want to beat the dead horse with that one. That's just, whatever. All right, so there's all these other male DNA profiles in the house that cannot be identified as far as they're concerned, like with any of the moving parts that they investigated. A lot of people refer back to the handrail and the gloves outside. And of course, now we know about additional DNA on the knife sheath, and people love that. But there was also DNA under Maddie's nails. And again, we don't know if any of those were the same one person, two people, three people, four people. We don't know. We have no idea. No idea. They could have been one person, literally. There could have been more of one other person's DNA scattered throughout the direct pathway of the crimes than there was of Bryan Kohberger's, but we just don't know. But we just don't know. That also could have been two people or three people or just four people. We just don't know. We just don't know. The witness is like, I heard someone say, it's okay, I'm here to help you. Okay. That didn't make sense when we thought that Xana caught him murdering Maddie and Kaylee. That makes even less sense now in the context that the documents are putting it in now. Because the documents, if you believe, like I do, unfortunately, that some of what Bryan Kohberger was trying to use in his defense are elements that he knew because he committed the murders, well, then think about this, okay? He would know that he used more than one weapon on Kaylee. He would know that he attacked Ethan and Xana simultaneously, like going back and forth, okay? He would know that Xana just caught him, possibly staging the crime scene, which his defense was going to claim took place, okay? That the crime scene was staged, the bodies were posed, and that might be what Xana actually caught him doing, and that is actually how he even got caught by Xana, is because he didn't get out of there right away. Now, thinking back to Olivia Goncalves saying that he was doing experimental things to these young kids' bodies, it's not a far stretch to believe that he simply also staged the crime scene and posed the bodies, possibly even left the sheath on purpose. Like, regardless of the fact that there is aspirated blood on the sheath, and that does mean the sheath was there during the struggle and during the actual death, that doesn't mean that when he left the room, someone wasn't still there aspirating blood and the sheath is in the bed. He may not have noticed that. Or maybe he did and didn't care and just left it there. But you got to believe that he might be telling you the truth about some of this stuff because of his experience in the home committing murders. And if that's true, then is he pointing out all this other DNA because he knows there were other people there? Was he basing the some other dude did it defense on things he knew that they couldn't tie back to him directly because it's not him that did those things? It was the other person or persons. They had a theory of 2 perpetrators at minimum. So was there at least maybe one other person? And Bryan was just trying to negate himself. If you did this with someone, would you roll on them and risk that while you guys are in the prison system together, they somehow get to you or get someone to get to you before you get to them or get someone to get to them? I mean, because if you guys did this together, I'm sure this person is just as nuts as you are, and they're not going to let it go that you snitched. So, but then there's the Jeffs of it, and I think a lot of my viewers will remember the Jeffs of it. I got a bone to pick with a fucking Jeff, okay? And frankly, other people should too. If you remember the Paramount Plus special, Bullhorn Betty and Chronicles of Olivia, they addressed a Jeff in jail. And Jeff's like, I don't know Bryan Kohberger, okay? I do know that there was more than one person involved, and I know the other guy. The other guy assigned me with getting rid of 2 backpacks. Before I got rid of them, I opened one of them. Bloody clothes and a bloody knife inside the backpack. Jeff got rid of them anyway, according to Jeff. Okay. Fuck that. Whatever. But I FOIA'd everything regarding Bryan Kohberger because I wanted, okay, and this is not to throw Brent back into the mix. It's just that this is where Jeff comes from for me. I wanted this specific interview from a Jeff who claimed to be Bryan Kohberger's friend. Jeff and his girlfriend told the police the day of the swatting in 2022 that they were friends with Bryan Kohberger, that he had some issues with his roommates. His roommates were coming on to him. He was very straight. They were very not. He was uncomfortable. He didn't feel comfortable even staying in his own place of residency at the time. So he was like living back and forth between basically homelessness, wandering around in the streets of Moscow at night, and the La Quinta Inn in Suites near Floyd's cannabis shop in Moscow. So I FOIA'd everything regarding Bryan Kohberger because I wanted that fucking interview and they never gave it to me. So are these fucking Jeffs the same fucking Jeff? Is that a fucking bone to pick with a Jeff? And that brings me to my last fucking question. Okay. People are like, well, why didn't law enforcement make Bryan Kohberger allocute the facts? Where the fuck did he put the murder weapon? What happened to the clothes? What the shit did he do with them? I want to think that Bryan Kohberger is the only person who did this because, well, that's what the fuck he said, and that's what the cops said. But what if Jeff wasn't lying? And Bryan has no fucking clue where the clothes and the murder weapon went because Jeff got rid of them, and Jeff said he didn't know Bryan. He knew the other guy. So what if Bryan can't tell you where the clothes went? Because Jeff got rid of them, not Bryan. What if Bryan couldn't tell you for the life of him where the murder weapon went? Because he didn't have any say in how it was disposed of. Who the fuck was the guy at the dumpster and the guy in the ski mask? Why did they ever think that there might have been more than one person in that white Hyundai Elantra? Yeah, I'll see you next time. Have a good day, everyone.